Hello and welcome to Hammer Time, a Hammer horror podcast, part of the Evolution of Horror Network. I'm Becky Darke, a film critic and Hammer fangirl, and I'm joined by my co-host, human encyclopedia of film and TV, and Hammer superfan, Kevin Lyons. Hi, Kev.
Hi, Becky. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Starting to think I'm going to need to update Fangirl.
I think so.
I need you to put your thinking cap on, please. And I'll throw it out to the listeners as well. What's my next stage now we're at this point of our journey?
You're a hammeter, then you're a fangirl. You're far more than that now. So, yes, we need something that reflects your professional standing in hammer historian circles.
In this podcast, Kevin and I are watching and discussing every horror film in Hammer's back catalogue. And this week, we're coming face to face with a goat-headed god and having our satanic baptisms with The Devil Rides Out from 1968.
The power of darkness is more than just a superstition. It is a living force which can be tapped at any given moment of the night.
Our Hammer Time discussions are all spoilerific, and we go into plot details and chat about the endings of the films. So if you'd like to watch The Devil Rides Out before you listen to the episode, you can rent it. Again, it's another one. It's all over the place. Prime, Apple TV, Studio Canal Presents, and the BFI player. And this is also one that is pretty widely available on physical media. So treat yourself, she says. Kev, this is another Hammer horror film that has been looming large over this podcast, it feels. It's an occult horror that is probably known by audiences, I would say, even beyond the hardcore sort of Hammer fandom. The Devil Rides Out. I mean, this is one... Certainly, I'm sort of saying that from a personal perspective, really. I think that I was aware of The Devil Rides Out before I was aware that it was a Hammer film, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, the Dennis Wheatley connection, which we'll talk about as we go along,
yes.
I think it sort of made the film more visible to a wider audience, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. So, set us up. Tell us, please, about how this one came about.
Well, it's based on a 1934 novel of the same name by Dennis Wheatley, and the roots of the film actually lie outside Hammer. It all starts with a pair of producers, Michael Stainer Hutchins and Peter Dorr, who bought the rights to 3 of Wheatley's novels in September 1963. They set up a company to try and explore the possibility of adapting all sorts of books, and these were the first 3 that they bought. The titles were The Devil Rides Out, obviously, The Satanist, and To the Devil a Daughter. And Christopher Lee was apparently a neighbour of Dennis Wheatley at the time, and he was also very keen to see these films be adapted. So he suggested to Hammer that they might want to strike a deal with Stainer, Hutchins and Dorr, which they did very cannily just 2 months later in November 1963. So we're looking back quite a long way in terms of Hammer's story here.
Yeah.
They had a script written by John Hunter, who'd written the film Never Take Sweets from a Stranger for them. But they rejected it for being, and I quote, too English, which is odd because Hunter was American, and because the finished film is actually terribly English, despite the fact that it also was written by an American, because they then commissioned none other than Richard Matheson to write a script. And this was as early as 1964. Now, Matheson had worked with Hammer back in 1957 when they bought the screen rights to his incredible novel, I Am Legend, classic vampire novel. Yeah. And they'd had him adapt it as Night Creatures, only for the BBFC to say, nope, absolutely not. And it ended up in a sort of circuitous sort of way as The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
Right.
But that's a story for another day. I may even have mentioned it before. And he'd just done Fanatic for them as well at this time, don't forget. So he was no stranger to Hammer. But Hammer then shelved it again for reasons I haven't quite got to the bottom of.
Interesting.
Not quite sure why they put it to one side. They dusted it down again in 1967 and started thinking, OK, maybe now's the right time to be doing a Dennis Wheatley adaptation.
Yeah, that is interesting that they kind of chose now, because is there something about 1967 about this being kind of the right time for a sort of satanic cult picture?
Well, a couple of things, really. Dennis Wheatley had enjoyed a huge resurgence of interest in the 1960s. Like I said, the novel was written in 1934, so, he'd been around for a long while, but suddenly he became big again, and part of that was due to the second reason I think they thought now was a good time. The youth culture of the time was becoming much more attuned to the occult, to the esoteric, and the sort of the spiritual.
Yeah.
We were seeing the whole dawn of the Age of Aquarius stuff going on at the time. And so I think they thought, well, now is as good a time as any to be doing a Dennis Wheatley novel. Also, of course, censorship had been changing slowly but surely throughout the 60s. So the idea of doing a film about Satanism, which at one time could have been tricky. There had been films about Satanists. We'd seen Night of the Demon, we'd seen City of the Dead and so on. But knowing the way that Hammer would have wanted to do it, the BBFC might have been a little bit on guard when they rocked up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we've got this film. It's a great idea about doing Satanists. And they would have thought, oh, God, it's going to be wall-to-wall orgies, isn't it? So, but I think, with the censorship relaxing, with kids getting into the whole sort of esoteric thing, with this revival of interest in Dennis Wheatley's work, then, the time was auspicious, really, wasn't it?
Amazing.
Is that the right word?
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, it's absolutely the right word. Okay, so let's talk about the plot of the movie, as always, ripped mercilessly from Letterboxd. So, the powers of good are pitted against the forces of evil as the Duc de Richelieu wrestles with the charming but deadly Satanist Mokata for the soul of his friend. Mokata has the knowledge and the power to summon the forces of darkness, and as the Duc de Richelieu and his friends remain within the protected pentacle, they are subjected to ever-increasing horror until thundering hooves herald the arrival of the Angel of Death. This...
You tell those stories so well. You really do. You should be doing audio books of horror short stories or something.
In a world. This is one of your faves.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not one of yours, is it?
No, it's not.
No. We're going to have a fight, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
And who's going to win?
We'll see, won't we, by the end of the episode?
I'm going to win. You know I'm going to win. I always win.
Damn it. Go on, Kev. Tell me what you think of Devil Rides Out.
I like it a great deal. It has some issues.
Yeah.
It does have some issues. Mainly from my perspective, from some very substandard special effects, which we're going to talk about as we go along. People will be saying, oh, yeah, it's not fair. It was 1968. Special effects weren't, as they are now, all the rest of it. I hate to bring this film up again, but 2001 was in production when they were making Devil Rides Out. Those special effects still work. Yes, they had tons more money than Hammer did. This isn't a problem of not being able to do it. It's just simply not being able to afford the ambitious effects that they wanted is what it is. But yeah, there are a few issues with it, and it may not end up quite as high on our rating scale as I would like because of those issues. But I do think it's a really good film. I really enjoy it. Go on, give it to me. What's wrong with it? Come on.
So I'd never seen The Devil Rides Out, and I know that at the top of this chat I was talking about how this is a film that is, very much known beyond the horror fandom.
Yeah.
I think I'd definitely heard about it before I realised it was a Hammer film. This is a film like it's The Devil Rides Out, right? Everyone's heard of this movie, I would have thought. And it was just one of those films that, for whatever reason, I'd never gotten around to watching, which is slightly surprising because kind of occult, like the occult as a subgenre, if you want to use that phrase, of horror films is absolutely one of my faves. I love a cult. I love sort of devil worshipping in movies and all of that kind of stuff. As you know, The Omen is my favourite horror film of all time. So I'm very into like this this sort of theme and this vibe of movie. Anyway, for whatever reason, I'd never seen it. And we started this podcast and I was like, I am so excited to finally see The Devil Rides Out. And even when I was writing my notes last week and getting to the end of my blurb at the end of the Quatermass in the Pit episode, I put, occult classic, Devil Rides Out, like so excited, blah, 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 blah. And then I watched it, Kev, and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? Like, why is this not working? This should tick every single one of my boxes. It's Christopher Lee, hot. It's Hammer, my new obsession. It's devil worshipping. There's a weird goat god who's being exploded by stuff on top of an altar while a load of people sort of writhe around him. Like, come on. I literally got to the end credits and I think my Letterboxd review, which I did immediately, was, well, I thought that was really lame. I know.
Well, you posed the interesting question there. What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with me?
In fairness, it's a question I've been asking for quite some considerable time now. Still not arrived at a working answer to that. But good Lord, woman, you disappoint me.
I very much doubt that even by the end of this episode we're going to have an answer to the
God, no.
sort of question of our times. The question of our times. What is wrong with Becky Darke?
What is wrong with Becky Darke? I mean, I thought the big question was what's wrong with Kevin Lyons. I'm coming across as quite normal, I think.
You are.
You
Absolutely are.
That's really worrying. I don't like that. I'm going to have to start acting really weird.
Yeah, that's existentially worrying.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I went into it with all the goodwill in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even a case of, so you know how sometimes you go into a film and your expectations are really high.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then you're disappointed because it's not quite as good as like loads of people told you it was.
Sure, yeah.
I genuinely don't think this is even that. Like, I think that there are things fundamentally wrong with this movie.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't understand why people love it so much. And even producer Mike, before we started recording, was like, well, I'm Team Kev for this one because this is one of my favourite Hammers. And I'm like, I don't understand why.
I feel confident I've got the boss on my side this time. Ha-ha! Yeah. I'm going to win this one. Yeah. See, I'm a bloke. It's all about winning, isn't it? So,
well, it's all in the edit, so we'll see what it actually comes out. He's going to take all of my bits where I'll be like, this bit's really good. And he'll sort of like clip it so it just sounds like me going, this movie's really good.
Oh, yes, Mike, but when you're listening, mate, you know what to do. You're a good editor. You know what to
do. Let's talk first about Richard Matheson's screenplay.
Yeah.
I mean, well, first, let's talk a little bit about Richard Matheson, if you don't mind. He is one of the sort of greatest screenwriters of all time, or definitely one of the most sort of well-regarded, right?
Well, particularly in the worlds we inhabit of horror, science fiction, fantasy, that kind of thing. The man is an absolute god amongst screenwriters. He really
Powerhouse.
is. Powerhouse. Just the things that he was been involved with, but particularly, I always love him for I Am Legend. Of all the things he's written, I Am Legend is something that many, many years ago I decided I would try my hand at fiction writing. Had a few stories published, and there were two books that really influenced my writing. One of them was I Am Legend, and the other one, by happy coincidence, was the novelisation of the last Quatermass series.
No way!
By Nigel Neal. Yeah. So two of these, sort of writing titans that we've talked about, they made an influence on my writing. I hasten to add my writing was never as good as either of them, and hence I've not really kept that particular sideline up. But, I hugely influenced by Richard Matheson. I love his work. I love his horror work. I like his hard science work. I like his fantasy stuff.
Oh, cool.
Really, really good. The man's absolutely brilliant. You can see why Hammer was so keen to have him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And particularly as he'd just done Fanatic for them, which we both, actually as a film, we actually both loved. That, they looked at that script and thought, well, this guy, clearly we need to hang on to him before he gets too big. And he was about to obviously become a huge name in Hollywood.
Yeah.
they were quite lucky to have him, I think.
Honestly, I mean, it doesn't surprise me off the back of Fanatic because, I mean, I know we both loved that film, but the writing is so good.
It's terrific, isn't it? It is fantastic. So, and, you know, they had their pick of really good writers. I think Hammer slightly suffered when Jimmy Sangster decided for the second time, I'm really not keen on Hammer, and walked after the psychological horrors. But they were getting in these new, in air quotes, writers.
New to Hammer.
New to Hammer. And maybe they were thinking, well, you know, this guy Matheson, we could groom him as the new Jimmy Sangster. But of course, he was way too big for that. So never going to happen. But
it's interesting that I Am Legend is a vampire story, because I couldn't help thinking, while I was watching The Devil Rides Out, that this is a Hammer Dracula film in all other ways apart from it's not actually vampires.
Right.
You've kind of got McCarter, the sort of leader of this satanic cult. He's the kind of centre of this power, right? This sort of evil power. Mm-hmm. He's got these acolytes around him. He's able to sort of hypnotise people with his eyes.
Yeah.
He's able to sort of bring people under his thrall. He's going into people's homes and kind of messing with their minds and, you know, sort of... I thought narratively, in terms of the narrative beats, it felt to me very much like a Dracula film, which in some ways betrayed the fact that it was a Richard Matheson screenplay, because this is going to make me sound really harsh, but I almost would have thought better of him.
The thing is, a lot of the beats actually do come from the novel, as if I remember. I haven't read the novel for a very long time. Didn't like it at all, so wasn't too inclined to go back and read it again.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Dennis Wheatley was a very strange man. He had some very...
I don't know a lot about him.
He had some very odd views, very odd beliefs. He was very into the whole sort of empire thing. He believed in the class system. There was a lot of anti-Semitism in his work.
Oh,
yeah.
Dear.
And he was a very strange character, and I found his books not only uncomfortable reading, but quite plodding. They're not... There's an awful... I know I'm setting myself for a fall here, because I know one of your criticisms of the film, but there's an awful lot of explaining things in his books instead of just getting on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll set myself up for that. We'll come back to that, but I'm blaming Dennis Wheatley for that.
Okay, fine.
But, you know, as far as I remember, a lot of the film is actually very close to the book. But I do see your point. I think, like you say, you've got this charismatic, a literally hypnotic aristocrat with evil intent, sort of loose abroad in the land. All these crosses are being thrown about everywhere. This aristocrat becomes obsessed with a young woman, very much like the whole sort of Mina storyline thing.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is, of course, that Christopher Lee is not playing Dracula or the Dracula figure.
No, he's the good guy.
He's a good guy it didn't happen often at Hammer. We'll talk more about that later. But he is the good guy in this one, yeah. But I think what Matheson does, having read the book all those years ago, I was late teens, early 20s. So that gives you some idea of how long ago it was. It was...
So just a question. Did you read the book because you'd seen the film, or were you just aware of the book anyway?
Oh, no, I was aware of the book. I hadn't seen the film at the time I read the book.
Okay.
As a late teen, early 20-something, I was reading every horror and science fiction novel I could get my hands on.
I see.
I was still a few years away from getting my first video recorder. I didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, fair.
You know, I was unemployed most of the time, and this was a time when we only had 3 television channels and they all shut down during the day. So I either had the choice of going outside and doing things with people. No.
Horrible.
Not my idea of fun at all. Or staying at home and reading. So I was reading an awful lot of comics, a lot of science fiction, a lot of horror. And so, yeah, it was just because, you know, at the late 70s in particular, people were always banging on about Dennis Wheatley.
Oh, I see.
And so I thought, yeah, OK, I should read some Dennis Wheatley. So I read this one, I read The Satanist, I may have read some other stuff. I just wasn't impressed, I'm afraid. Wasn't impressed. I didn't know about his beliefs at that point, but they were becoming very obvious as I was reading through it.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't shy away from it.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
and I think what Matheson does is strip all of that out.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's not a hint of anything.
There's not a hint of any of that in this at all. No, not at all. And despite what you're going to say very shortly, if not imminently, I think he cuts a lot of the waffle from the book as well, which probably gives you you're breaking out in a cold sweat. I can feel it just at the thought.
I'm developing hives as we speak.
Yeah.
But before we get on to all of my petty criticisms about the movie, what I am interested to know is obviously you read the book as a teen, early 20s. Now, what I have often experienced with if you've read the book and then you watch the film, often you get that thing where you're like, oh, well, that's not how I imagined such and such, or they didn't commit this bit, like my favourite sequence of the book to screen properly, etc., etc. Often it can, I think there's quite a well established and recognised thing that it's not as good as the book.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So when you did first watch The Devil Rides Out, were you pleasantly surprised? Did you think, oh my God, this is so much better than the book?
I probably did. I don't remember explicitly, but I know that very early on I developed a thing where I just thought, like, well, books and films are two different things. They can't be the same. And that stood me in good stead when I saw Blade Runner, because that was based on one of my favourite novels, Do Androids Dream of
Electric Sheep, yeah.
Terrific book. I loved that book. I was obsessed with it. I saw Blade Runner and there was nothing left of it, apart from the very basic plot.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favourite films.
Yeah.
Because I can divorce the two, you changed it, but you did a good job of it. Apple have just announced, or recently announced, that they're doing a TV adaptation of my absolute favourite novel, Neuromancer by William Gibson.
Oh.
And I've got to confess, I'm dreading that.
Right.
Because I've read that book probably more times than any other book, apart from War of the Worlds, maybe, they're on an equal footing. And I've got such a vivid image in my head of what everybody looks like in Neuromancer, of how the city looks and all the rest of it, that they're going to let me down. Doesn't matter how brilliant it is, they're going to let me down. So I'm going to have to draw on all those resources of it's a different medium.
Right, exactly.
I'm really going to have to go for it with that one. Just like bite my tongue.
You're going to have to sort of meditate for sort of 12 hours before you go in on that specific point. Yeah.
This is TV. This is not a novel. They can't.
These are different ways of telling a story, you know.
And then I'll probably come back on here or some other podcast and say, Christ, that was bloody awful, wasn't it? I hated it. But this one, I do prefer the film to the book, I must say. I do prefer the film to the book. I think it cuts out an awful... You get to like 8 pages of them describing, the actual rituals and stuff, which I'm sure is fascinating, but I don't care. Just do the ritual.
Yeah.
Just get on with it, They did remove one thing. If I remember right, my memory is slightly fuzzy, so please forgive me if I've got this wrong, but there's some sort of amulet involved in it, which I think is something like a sort of atrophied penis or something like that.
I'm so sorry.
No,
sorry, Kev. That's crazy. I thought you said atrophied penis.
Oh, I did. Oh, absolutely, I did. Yeah.
What?
Or something similar. That's how I remember it. Maybe it's just my weird, twisted brain that remembers it that way. But certainly that had to go from the film, because there was no way even Hammer were going to be able to put something like that on the screen. But what I think the film does, it does... Despite your argument that you're going to make any minute now, I'm building you up for this. You see what
you are?
You see what I'm doing here? I'm building you up so that when your big moment comes, everybody's going to be going, "Oh, she didn't make a good argument. I'm on Team Kev this week." So I say I'm sly. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
That is sly behaviour, Lyons.
I never said I wasn't sly. Come on, you know me of old. You know what I'm like. But I think that what Matheson did was actually cut out quite a lot of the waffle from the book. What the waffle that's left, I actually quite like.
Right.
You went very quiet there. I thought, my God, she's gone.
Yeah.
She's left. She's walked out.
Right. I'm not going to let you tease the listeners any longer. I'm going to address.
Go on.
I'm going to address this issue face on.
Yeah.
All Christopher Lee does is explain stuff to other people. I think anybody who has listened to the whole series of Hammer Time, or has even just picked some of their sort of favourite Christopher Lee pictures out of our discussions, will know that I am an enormous fan. And I don't mean I just have a crush on him.
But it helps.
But it does help.
Yeah.
But also, he's Christopher Lee, right? He's incredible.
Yes,
Everybody knows that.
Of course.
I have never enjoyed a Christopher Lee character less.
Really?
Than I do Duke de Richelieu.
Ooh.
In this film. He is insufferable. And I don't think that's Christopher Lee's fault.
Sure.
I will say up front. I think it's the way that he's written.
Yeah.
He is a character who is given all of the agency in the film. And so he hasn't even, like, at least if you've got Baron Frankenstein, he'll often have, you know, a smart little assistant or somebody who's able to kind of chime in from time to time. Like, he'll probably be a bit dismissive to him, but, you know, there's somebody else who is able to add to the discourse of the film. This entire story hinges on Christopher Lee's Duke de Richelieu essentially being the only person who knows anything, the only person who has any kind of useful contribution to make in terms of the sort of defeating of the evils, etc. And not only that, but every line that comes out of his mouth, it felt to me, is him describing the story and explaining what is going on to somebody else. And I was like, you are boring me to tears. I couldn't believe it. I was so shocked to not like Christopher Lee. I mean, the thing is like, it's not like he always plays a likeable character. That's not what I'm saying. He's played loads of really horrible villains, right? Like, fine.
Yeah.
But I've always at least been able to take away from the film, like, oh, that Christopher Lee was a right bastard in that one or whatever. In this one, I was just like, can we have somebody else, one other person once say a line that has something to do with the plot other than him just explaining things to other people?
That's interesting. That never occurs to me while I'm watching it, I must admit. Never occurs to me. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm not particularly into the occult in real life. I don't believe it. I'm not, I'm not a believer. And I think if I've got to listen to people talking about the occult, I'd rather hear Christopher Lee than anybody else.
Completely understandable.
You know, it's that voice, that authority. He almost has me won over by the end. I'm almost a believer, to can paraphrase a really good 60s song. I'm almost a believer. But what I do like about the supporting characters, though, is how open that most of them are to the idea of the occult.
Yes.
There's something strangely comforting about this small group of home counties, very posh English people who just buy into the occult as a matter of course, as if it's just like a natural part of their lives. I think it's only Paul Eddington as Richard Eaton who really sort of voices any scepticism over the occult, and he's very soon won over by everything that he experiences. But everybody else in the film is like, we trust the Duke de Richelieu. He knows what he's talking about, and he does talk a lot. Yeah, you're right. I'll give you that.
I think, I completely understand what you're saying, and I think that I experienced the same thing, but I experienced it in a slightly more negative way.
Right.
In that, you're absolutely right that I love that the supporting cast are open to what is going on, and actually what that does is it does allow the narrative of the film to play out in quite a nice, fluid way, right? You're not kind of batting up against these skeptics the whole time. But I'm not sure that I was convinced that they were buying into the occult. I think they were buying into him, and he's almost just so... I found him, like, overbearing. Like, it was, you know, not to kind of use the common parlance, because I'm not sure that this really is what he's doing, but it did feel a little bit like mansplaining to me. Like,
okay.
It isn't that. It isn't mansplaining, because he's obviously talking to people who aren't up to speed with everything that's going on.
Yeah,
and I understand that he is the character who has studied it, and he is the one who does know what to do and does understand it. But for me, the screenplay could have been a lot more show not tell, because it's so much of him just going, oh, and so actually there's this thing, and oh yes, and also now we need to do this, and also this person is this person, and like blah 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 blah. I was like, oh my god, could we have some naturalistic conversation at any point of this movie?
I think maybe the problem, and I'm just sort of spitballing here, but maybe the problem is that when they did show us stuff happening, they didn't have the budget to show us stuff happening properly.
Maybe. Yeah, fair.
And so they resorted to dialogue, because I know that, you know, we talked about special effects, we'll come back to them, but I know the producers of the film were really unhappy with what they got for their money.
Really?
They really didn't like the special effects in this film either. And I wonder if maybe there was a sort of like, okay, we've seen the first few effect shots come back, we need to do something here. And they sort of like, right, quick, let's have him just explaining stuff rather than showing stuff, because it's going to work out better in the end, because people might get bored down the line. That Becky woman's going to get bored of Christopher Lee talking.
In 2026, all these years.
In 2026, yeah, exactly. All these decades later, this Becky woman's going to be very upset about, you know, sort of all the talk, but at least they're not going to be laughing at any more substandard effects.
Yeah, fair.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
It's just a guess. It's just a guess. I'm literally sort of, you know, making this up as I go along, but it kind of makes a certain amount of sense, that I think. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah.
Let's, as we're on the subject, let's sort of talk about those moments, because to concentrate on something a bit more positive.
Yeah.
I tell you what, there are some really fun action set pieces in this
film.
There
are.
Like, really fun. And again, coming back to producer Mike and this being one of his favourite Hammer films, I know that one of the reasons for that, because when I was texting him while I was watching it going, I don't understand what the fuss is about, I think this is really boring, he was like, yeah, but what about the car chases,
right?
The ritual, the kind of good guys crash, that incredible sequence. And I will say it, I do think it's really good in the sort of chalk circle, when you've got the four of them in the chalk circle trying to protect themselves until dawn, you know. So there are these moments of incredible action, and those really do kind of, they stand out, and they definitely make it more watchable.
Yes.
And so alongside the action set pieces, you then do have these special effects. And I think the first one that I noticed was up at the mansion, when Christopher Lee's Duke de Richelieu and Leon Green's Rex Van Ryn are in the room, and this like demon kind of comes out of the smoke. He looks a little bit more like a genie than a demon.
Yeah.
But thankfully, the Duke de Richelieu is very quick to tell us that he's a demon, because, you know, we definitely need an explanation. So you've got that, which was the first kind of major special effect that I noticed. It does look a little bit I Dream of Jeannie.
It does.
Then you get the giant spider, which was awful.
I think it works in a couple of shots, but the problem is that they keep going from this optically enlarged spider back to just a normal sized spider.
Thank you.
That was my problem with that shot. Is that they should have kept it optically enlarged the whole time, because otherwise it just looks like the hairy tarantula walking about some floorboards.
The perspective or the scale is so mismatched. They should have just chosen one or the other, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Either you do fewer shots of it, as you say, being sort of artificially enlarged, or you do the kind of Lucio Fulci thing, where they're not giant, but you've got some fake ones and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And you can sort of see that it's not entirely fantastically done, but at least you're not constantly going, I mean, the giant spider, fine. Oh, and now look, it's just like, how are we supposed to believe that is just...
Yeah.
It's just a tarantula on a floorboard. Like, what am I supposed to think? But then I do think that then, so at the end of that sequence, you do get, as I said in the sort of plot synopsis, the angel of death turn up.
Yes.
And you get this very cool thing where you've got this kind of like translucent horse rearing up on its back legs, and the angel of death sort of tears off its mask and it's just a skull beneath. So what do you think in terms of like the budget, Kev, and in terms of what was pulled off and what wasn't pulled off, we're kind of getting here from the special effects?
They are the weakest part of the film for me.
Yeah.
They are the bit that damages the film. I think there's a terrific shot during the spider sequence where it kind of rears up to menace the little girl.
Yeah, Peggy.
Yeah, that's really well done.
Yeah.
I like that one single shot. We're going to talk about him a lot more as we go along, but the Goat of Mendes, I quite like the look of the Goat of Mendes, and when he first materialises, and it's probably just a mistake in the opticals, but it works, there's like a darkness suddenly coalesces, and then out of that darkness he appears.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. That's a decent shot.
Right, trust me, I was coming on to say how much I like the Goat of Mendes. I think he looks really good. As we said, I think when we were talking about the Mummy's Shroud, which is obviously Eddie Powell, you said at the time that Eddie Powell comes back in the next film as the Goat of Mendes. And the makeup is really good. I think that he is genuinely quite scary. And I love the fact that he's crossing his little legs with his little hooves.
I know. And I like the fact that he doesn't move very much.
No.
He just
like
sits there.
Slightly turns his head from side to side, and that's kind of it.
And that's enough, because he's just menacing, just his sheer presence. You know, this is Eddie Powell, if you've missed any episodes or had fallen asleep by that point listening to me droning on. He was Christopher Lee's stuntman, so he was a very big guy, huge guy. So he's very physically imposing.
Yeah.
And they possibly could have made a little bit more of that. They maybe should have had some of the other characters closer to the Goat of Mendes.
Right, to kind of
give
get
the scale.
His scale. Yeah, that is true, actually, Kev. That's a really good point, because actually, in some ways, the way that he is placed and shot, it could be anybody.
Yeah,
you actually don't really get to take advantage of Eddie Powell's stature, right?
That said, would you want to go anywhere near the Goat of Mendes? The devil himself? As,
no, thank you.
Richard says. No, exactly. So I can understand why even his acolytes are standing back a little bit, because he's quite a scary-looking chap, isn't he?
Yeah, totally.
But even in the things like the Angel of Death, I love the way the Angel of Death just bursts into the room.
It's very cool.
Just it seems to come through a door, but possibly it's also just materialising.
I mean, I think he just materialises, absolutely. Because if he was to burst through a door, he's too big for that. Like
those wings would get in the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. But they then go and spoil that scene by having the horse rear up, and then they do this kind of... You know, it rears up a few times, then it rears up again, and the film starts going backwards, forwards, and it looks like this horse is kind of doing a weird little dance.
Yeah.
It's meant to look menacing, but it doesn't work.
It sort of undermines it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because
yeah.
that is such a terrific shot otherwise. That Angel of Death is truly terrifying.
Yeah.
Really, when I first saw the film, that was the bit that stuck in my mind the longest.
Yeah, I'm not
even
surprised.
more than the Goat of Mendes, because it actually made me jump when it happened. You know, you hear the horse's hooves thundering away outside, and you just think, oh, okay, someone's outside. Oh, no, God, it's in the room with them. You know, it's really quite a scary moment. But just that silly bloody dancing horse kind of spoils
It's an odd
it
choice. It did stick out to me.
I think it's moments like that where they're the bits where the producers were looking at it and thinking, okay. And I can't remember the guy's name. I should have made a note of who did the special effects, but I do know he never worked for Hammer again.
Oh.
So, you know, they didn't like his work. And I can understand that.
I think the thing that struck me with the special effects was that we've been, watching Hammer films since what was Quatermass experiment 1955?
55. You
55.
called it the Quatermass experience way back at the beginning, didn't you? I seem to remember.
Yeah. Apparently, all these months on, still haven't gotten over that.
Still calling
it the Quatermass experience, apparently. Yeah. The Quatermass experiment, 1955. And there were some of those early films. I remember Quatermass 2, where or is it X the Unknown? Where the blobs kind of come out over the sort of power station.
Yeah. It's X the Unknown, I think. Well, they're both blob monster movies.
Yeah, they are both blob monsters, yes. But whichever one it is where they come over the power station. And there are moments in this film in 1968, 13 years later.
Yeah.
Where it struck me that the special effects almost weren't as good as they were then. And this isn't something that is just limited to this film. This isn't something that's just limited to Hammer. This is something that we talk about in horror films now. When we review new horror films, there is always this ongoing dialogue and this ongoing conversation between practical effects and CGI, right?
Sure.
CGI blood doesn't look as good as Eastman, as Kensington Gore, right?
It doesn't at all. You're right.
I would absolutely argue that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for example, I've recently watched Evil Dead Burn, which I thought was dreadful.
Good. Well, at least on the same page with that one. I was hugely disappointed by that.
Oh, God, I thought it was very bad. Yeah. And one of my main issues with it is that the special effects, the computer-generated effects in that film are terrible.
Awful.
All of these years on, and again, budgets, like available artists, like all of this stuff, like of course. But I always struggle because in my head, and I know you don't like James Cameron, but in my head, I've always got Terminator 2.
Right, okay.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry, 2026.
Yeah.
But did you see what we were doing back then? And I almost had the same feeling here, where I'm almost like, I'm really sorry, 1968.
1968, yeah.
Did you see what we were doing in, 1956? Do you know what I mean? And, there's just part of me that thought, I've seen better than this before, and what are we doing now?
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, audiences went to see this in 1968, the same year they went to see 2001.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a world of difference between the budgets involved.
Of course there is. It has to be said, but,
Of course, but it just feels like Hammer really should have resourced this one a bit better.
Or just made different choices. I think that's the thing that I feel. My argument would be that we have praised Hammer time and time again for spinning gold from straw.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Where their costumes, their sets, this approach of recycling sets, or using using their budgets in the most efficient, economical, and frankly spectacular way to wow us beyond what should have been possible. And I think what I felt had slightly been lost in this film is do what you do best. Don't.
Yeah.
I'm all for hitting for the fences. I'm all for trying something new, and let's do some superimposition and all that kind of thing. But I feel like if different choices have been made around the special effects, that actually the budget could have gone further, if that makes sense.
It has literally just occurred to me, and this could be complete nonsense, but you're used to me talking complete nonsense, aren't you? That I wonder if, because when it was made in 2001 was in production, I think 250 special effects shots in that one film alone. Were all the really good special effects guys working for Stanley Kubrick? And so they had to go with the cheapest offer, basically.
Oh my God, maybe.
Possibly. I mean, I may be talking out my arse. That wouldn't be the first time.
It's like when in 2012... Glastonbury wasn't supposed to have a fallow year, but did have a fallow year because all of the Portaloos were being used at the 2012 Olympics.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, were the resources available to them to do any better than they did, Which is no excuse, really, because if you didn't have the resources, rethink what you were doing.
I think that's my criticism, is do it a different way rather than...
Do it a different way, yeah. Yeah. But it is, for me, it is the one thing that lets the film down is the special effects. I can take Christopher Lee's, lecturing. I love that. But and I know, yes, there will be people who are sitting there now seething, saying, oh, you don't have to worry about special effects, don't worry about them. But you do worry about them because you want the verisimilitude of it.
I think that's it. It's when they take you out of the action.
That's right. Pulls you out of the film, yeah. It the dancing horse makes me laugh just after I've been terrified by it.
Right.
And it makes me laugh too quickly.
Yeah. And the spider is so...
I'm just spending all of that sequence thinking, is it shrinking again? Oh, no, it's growing again. It's growing. Oh, no, he's gone back to normal size again. It's like, it's too distracting for me.
It is. That's it. That is the exact word, Kev. It's distracting.
Yeah, it's distracting. Yeah. Luckily, I think the film has a lot more... to offer.
Let's talk about some of those things. Let's talk about the positives and the stuff that you really love about the film.
Yeah.
So would a good way to do that be to go through sort of the plot and our cast of characters?
Yes, I think so.
Great.
Let's do that.
So we've spoken about McCarter. He is your quintessential cult leader.
Yes.
All of the cult members absolutely bend over backwards, worship him. Played by Charles Gray. And I must say, if you're ever going to cast somebody to be an enigmatic cult leader, you need somebody like Charles Gray, who has the most incredible presence, and mainly his eyes are unbelievable.
If you're going to be hypnotised by someone, you need them to have the eyes of Charles Gray.
Correct.
He is brilliant here.
Yeah,
and he was
really
always director Terence Fisher's first choice. He always wanted Charles Gray. Hammer actually wanted Gert Frobe, who played the eponymous villain in the Bond film Goldfinger.
Oh,
now I like him.
I could see it.
But I don't think he quite has the charisma of Charles Gray.
Yeah.
Charles Gray is so sinister.
Oh.
I'll save it for one of my favourite moments. He has a line of dialogue which is extraordinary, really, really creepy, really good. But he's terrific, isn't he? He's so good, I almost became a Satanist. Because I thought, I'll follow McCarter. He's a cool guy. Look at him. He's brimming with charisma. When he goes to visit the house...
Honestly, that's one of my favourite sequences because I was genuinely unsure about what was going to happen.
Well, carry on with the story. We'll get back to that part, but that's something to watch out for, I think, and listen out for when Becky's taking us through it, is the visit to the house.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So he plays this, as I say, this cult leader, and we're introduced to him and the cult at his kind of aristocratic home, because of course he's an aristocrat.
Of course, yeah.
And we've got a character called Simon, who is played by Patrick Mower.
Yeah. Patrick Mower. Yeah.
Mower. And he has basically been sucked in to the Satanists. But he's got these two very good friends, Christopher Lee as Nicholas, Duke de Richelieu, and Leon Green, as I said, as Rex Van Ryn. And they've known him forever. They're slightly older, but they've known him forever. And they're a little bit nervous that they kind of haven't heard from him in a while. And they turn up to this... in fact, is it his house?
Yes, I think it is, yes.
It's at Simon's house, isn't it?
That's right.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Because they essentially just sort of drop in. Right?
That's right,
like, let's go and see Simon.
And there's a meeting of his astrology group.
Right.
He calls it.
Yes. This astrology group, wink, wink.
Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, yeah.
So they turn up out of nowhere. He's like, oh, what are you guys doing here? And he's hosting this meeting of the astrology group group, but obviously it's actually the Satanists.
Yes.
And there are 13 people there.
Mm-hmm.
And because they are about to do something satanic and ritualistic, a couple of them start to freak out because Nicholas Duke de Richelieu and Rex have turned up, and that means there's now too many people.
That's right.
And so the ritual or whatever sort of, movement of the stars or whatever's going on in this ritual can't happen if there's more people. So they sort of say, like, Simon, you've got to get him out of here, right? Mm-hmm. And Simon goes over and he says, like, you can't be here, I'm really sorry, like, I'll come and see you another time, blah, 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 blah. And what Nicholas Duke de Richelieu realises, because he has studied these matters, is, oh shit, our little mate Simon is in with the Satanists.
Yeah.
They go up to his room. They go up to Simon's rooms, I think, and they find all of these bits and pieces, including a black cock and a white hen in a little...
It's his observatory, isn't it? They've gone
It's
to.
his observatory.
His astronomical observatory.
That's right. Yes, because it's a meeting of the Astronomical Society. Of course he's got an observatory. And they find these sacrificial birds. Mm-hmm. And Christopher Lee absolutely freaks out. And he says to Simon, like, oh my God, you can't do this. This is crazy. But he's far too kind of deeply in by this point. There is also a young woman called Tanith, played by Kevin. Help me out.
In my head, I've always pronounced it Nike Origi.
Great.
That will do for now. Someone will come and tell us we got it wrong, because I know she's done signings and stuff and people have met her and I never have. But Nike Origi is how I've always thought of it.
Lovely. Nike Origi plays Tanith. And it's so cute because at first they think that Tanith has been like given this name as her satanic baptism
That's
name.
right.
But actually then it just turns out it's just her name, which I think is really
That's
cute.
what you just called, yeah. So she's going to probably get some normal sounding name.
I know, they're
like
just going to
Susan
call her
or
like
something,
Susan or something. It's like, no,
exactly.
keep Tanith. It's a great demonic name.
I shall tell that to my niece, whose name is Tanith.
It's not really, is it?
Spelt differently, but it is Tanith. Yes, hi Tanith. I don't know whether she listens to it or not. But,
hello.
Yes, so I shall let her know next time I speak to her that you think her name is Satanic. She'll love you.
Look, I didn't say that I thought her name was Satanic. I said that it was a good satanic name. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's a very fine difference, isn't it, really?
it's
just splitting hairs difference.
It's subtle. It's subtle.
Yeah, keep digging that hole. Go on, here's another spade.
Okay, sorry. So Tanith and Simon basically are like the new recruits, right? So they are going to have their satanic baptisms, which we find out because they think that Tanith has already been baptized because she's got this weird name, and then no, it turns out that it's actually her name, which is really cute. And Nicholas Duke de Richelieu and Rex basically set out, they're like, right, we have to save Simon. And so one of the best, in my humble opinion, action sequences of this film is when they crash the kind of May Day ritual, which is where they summon the Ghost of Mendes. So it's very classic satanic cults. You've got, I say that. It's very classic satanic cult on screen.
That's right. Yeah.
So you've got lots of people in their robes, flower garlands, throwing themselves all over the place. There's a fire, there's chanting, and they conjure the Goat of Mendes, which is Eddie Powell, as we say. And he turns up cross-legged on top of a sort of stone plinth with little hooves, his cute little hooves. Sort of goat legs, obviously. And then he's got a human torso, and then he's got a goat head from sort of neck up. Looks amazing, I would say.
Oh, quite right. I think it's an extraordinary looking apparition, as it were. Yes, definitely.
Apparition is right. And they, you're right about the crosses, because what you said earlier about this thing of it being a bit Dracula-esque because of the crosses, it's that very classic defeating of pagan or satanic powers through the cross or the crucifix.
Yeah.
And at one point, Christopher Lee's Duke de Richelieu sort of brings Simon back from a kind of a trance that he's been put under by MacArthur by putting a cross around his neck. And his poor servant, because it's a very scary moment. It starts choking Simon in bed. And it's this, and he sort of twists it round his own hand. So he's almost like choking himself with it, which is a remarkable image. And Duke de Richelieu's poor old servant says, "Oh well, I took it off him because it was choking him." Yeah. He's like, "I'm so sorry if I've done something I wasn't supposed to." And Christopher Lee's like, "Don't worry about it, it's fine. Like, I get it." But to defeat the Goat of Mendes, they literally like drive the car towards it, and I think it's Rex lobs the big crucifix like into the Goat of Mendes, and he literally it's
like he's lobbing a grenade, isn't he? It's like he's on the front line, he's going into battle, he's riding in on his tank and he lobs a grenade at the enemy position.
It's exactly that, and then now I think in my memory, although correct me if I'm wrong, Kev, I think that's the first of the kind of standout action sequences. And then we get the car chase?
Then we get the car chase, I believe, yes, because they're trying to get Tanith away from the cult, aren't they?
And Rex, obviously, because it's a Hammer film, has fallen madly in love with her immediately on first sight.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, on sight. Yeah. To be fair, Nike Origi is stunning. So I can kind of understand why he falls for her.
Completely understand it. I have to say, she's great. Niki Origi is great. I really, really enjoyed her performance.
She's terrific. She's really good, yeah.
I thought Leon Green as Rex was borderline unwatchable.
He is compromised, to be fair, because for reasons unknown, he was dubbed in his entirety by Patrick Allen. Now, this is a guy whose voice will be instantly familiar to a whole generation of listeners because he was in the Barris Homes commercials in the helicopter flying over the homes. And more pertinently, he was the voice of Protect and Survive.
Right, we've spoken about him before.
We have.
What was he in?
He was in a lot of stuff. He was in Night of the Big Heat, which is a film that Terence Fisher made away from Hammer. At that point, do you mean what Hammer films was he in?
I'm sure because you've spoken. Yeah, you've definitely spoken about.
He was in
being the voice of.
He was in Captain Clegg.
Right. Oh my God! Of course he was. He was the mean old.
That's right.
The military man.
Yep. He's the kind of the hero and the villain at the same time in that.
That's right.
And a little bit of trivia for you. At the time when he dubbed poor old Leon Green, so I don't hold it too much against Leon Green because he was compromised.
No, do you know what? That's actually very fair.
That's very fair, isn't it? But at the time he was doing this dubbing, he was married to Sarah Lawson, who turns up here as Marie Eaton.
Yes.
So there you go. It's a small world.
Hammerworld
was a very small place.
Do you think Fisher was like, Sarah, would you mind giving Leon...
Is Patrick doing anything for a couple of days?
Giving Patrick a call, because,
He did have an incredible voice. Anybody who's listened to Protect and Survive will recognise him immediately, even though they may not know that poor old Leon Green was dubbed. But they'll be watching it thinking, he sounds like the guy from Protect and Survive, because it is,
Because it is. Why did they dub Leon Green?
I've no idea. It's bizarre. He was actually an opera singer, so he had a very good voice. And bizarrely, if you go and look up the trailer for the film, it'll probably be on YouTube, I should think, you can actually hear Leon Green's voice.
How odd.
And it's perfectly fine. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I don't know what... They had a habit of dubbing a lot of people, Hammer. They did it a lot to their actresses.
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. I feel like when we've spoken about it before, it's actually been the female performers.
Yeah, it has in the past. This is an example of them doing it to one of the men. I don't know why. It's just
so strange.
It seems an unnecessary expense that they could have spent on slightly better special effects, maybe.
I mean, I would say it genuinely undermines.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because I found Rex quite unconvincing, actually.
I think the thing I love about Rex the most is he's not very bright.
He's not very bright.
How many times does he actually let Tannis get away from it? He sort of leaves her in the car so she nicks the car. And then, he's like, he turns his back for 2 seconds as she wanders off into the woods, And he's like, for God's sake, man, you're supposed to be protecting her. Keep an eye on her the whole time.
Keep an eye. Stop getting distracted. It's like he's got ADHD.
That's right, yeah. He's like, oh, shiny things. I'm going to go look
at
exactly. And he's like, Tannis off again, because she's much more resourceful than he is,
Hilarious. But yes, this is what leads to the fantastic car chase, I must say, because he takes Tanith to his... Right, is Richard his brother or is Marie his sister?
Do you know, I'm not sure, actually. I should have made a note of that, but they are family.
Fine. It doesn't matter.
They are family.
He takes it to his family's home. So you've got Marie Eaton, as you say, played by Sarah Lawson. You've got Richard Eaton, played by the great Paul Eddington.
What
wonderful. An absolute treat.
Oh, isn't he just awesome? Isn't he just awesome? He always was. I love him.
I love him so much. And then their little girl, Peggy, who's the one who gets accosted by the giant spider.
Yes.
Plays by Rosalind Landor.
Who's about to be the same year you could go to the cinema and see her as Jemima Potts in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh my God, I knew I recognised her.
And also in 1972, she's Sarah Latimer in The Amazing Mr. Blunden.
I haven't seen that one.
Which also stars Madeline Smith, who we're about to meet in... I think next week's episode, maybe. I think.
Exciting. I can't wait to see Madeline Smith.
Honestly, I'm going to talk about Madeline an awful lot. I rather like Madeline. So
yes, as you should.
As I should.
So, yeah. Silly old daft Rex takes Tanith to the family home. And on the way there, in the car, there's this very cool moment, actually, where Charles Gray's MacArthur, appears in the rearview mirror.
That's right, yes.
Which I love, because it's very illustrative of his power, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
This idea that it's not just that he can hypnotise you if you're in front of him.
No, he can do it.
He can literally appear, in a mirror with his eyes. It's very, very cool.
He can hypnotise you remotely, which is actually quite creepy. Yeah.
It's very creepy.
Yeah.
And Rex is obviously this beloved sort of uncle, because he turns up and little Peggy, is so excited to see him.
I know.
And I'm not going to say the line now, but there is an incredible line that she says, that Rosalind Landor says, that is one of my favourite moments from the movie, because it made me howl with laughter the way she delivers it. It's so good.
So good.
And you're absolutely right. What happens is he gets out to talk to them, and Tanith just scoots over into the driver's seat, just nicks the car.
Nicks the car, yeah. He's like, did you not notice how resourceful this young woman was? Did it not occur to you that she might actually abscond with your vehicle here?
There's definitely you're absolutely right. He's a bit dim.
Yeah.
But I think there's a bit of commentary there on the arrogance of sort of the good guy. You know?
Yeah.
It's fine, we've talked her down, she'll be fine now, I just need to keep her safe, and completely underestimating the resourcefulness and will of this woman.
We've tamed the little woman.
Yes.
She's safe now, she's all right, she can't cause us any... Oh, hang on a minute, she's gone. She's legged it. In me car! How much of an insult is that to a man that she's not only sort of evaded him, but nicked his wheels as well.
I know.
That's adding insult to injury, isn't it?
And so you do get this brilliant car chase.
Superb car
it's
chase.
It's so good and so exciting. I wanted to ask...
Lovely bit of direction from Terence Fisher as well. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's literally what I was coming on to, so please go ahead.
MacArthur sort of causes the windscreen in Rex's car to sort of shatter and frost over, and he punches a hole in it to carry on seeing. And that's what Fisher keeps showing us through this hole, sort of masked by this sort of frosted effect, which makes it look like the fog, the smoke.
It does.
Yeah, it's a very clever bit of direction that I really like those shots.
It's brilliant. The shots are fantastic, and it also really ups the peril of the car chase.
It does.
Because Rex can literally basically only see where he's going through a sort of 3-inch hole.
That's right, yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Terence Fisher, because that was literally going to be my next question, which was how, we are so used to seeing Terence Fisher direct the Gothics, and we talk about him so much in terms of his sort of leaning into the very sort of consciously leaning into the sort of fairy tale vibe of his Gothic pictures for Hammer. How does he do here? The film is set technically in the late 20s. I believe that the screenplay is set in 1929.
Yes.
But we don't necessarily get that actually sort of put across to us on screen specifically that it is set in the 20s. There could be some discrepancy around its kind of sort of time period. But if we're thinking that it is set in the 20s, how does Terence Fisher do kind of away from that usual Gothic fairy tale kind of setting that he's so used to?
Well, it's interesting because away from Hammer, he did do a lot of contemporary set films.
Right.
He did The Earth Dies Screaming, did Island of Terror, Night of the Big Heat. So he wasn't averse to trying out different time periods. But for Hammer, this is the most contemporary he got.
Yes.
This is the one that's closest to the time that the film was made.
Yes.
I think he does pretty well with it, actually. I think he does okay. I think he just treats it as being an other period piece. The 1920s, whatever it was, seemed as distant as the 1890s did.
Right.
From the perspective of the
30 years, right? I mean, it's not it's not that different.
I mean, in all fairness, the kids that were going to go and see this film on a Saturday night and tear themselves away from it, sucking each other's faces off to watch the film, they would. The 1920 would have seemed as alien to them as 1890 did.
Yeah.
To them, it was all much of a muchness. I was a teenager in the late 70s. The 1940s and 50s seemed like a whole other time. I became obsessed with watching British films from the 1940s and 50s as a teenager, because it was like, did we really live like that? Was the world really that black and white and drab? And so, and they're still some of my favourite films because they're of a time that seems incredibly alien. The 1950s were actually only ended 3 years before I was born. But, that passage of time when you're young, it does seem a very long time ago.
Definitely. I mean,
so
there's the classic thing now of, we are, I'm in my 40s now, and it's so funny kind of being on social media and seeing the kids kind of, readopting sort of like 2000s style. I'm like, fuck off, is that vintage? Are you kidding me? But I mean, it is, right, to them.
Yeah,
that feels like a million years ago.
Well, here's the thing. Many years ago now, because it's been quite a while since this happened, a friend of mine actually pointed out, and this will make you feel old, that Star Wars, the first of the new films, as far as I'm concerned, was closer to the Second World War than it is today.
What?
And with every year that's gone by, that gap has just increased. It's much closer to the Second World War than it is to now.
I don't like it. Kev.
And why do you think I've got insomnia? This sort of stuff keeps me awake at night. It's not what the horror films that are keeping me awake. It's my bloody friends pointing these things out to me.
Oh, my God.
So, the 1920s in 1960 was... Yeah, I mean, it would have been like 40 years before.
Like you say, like really, it isn't that different to, setting a period piece,
It's 30, not at all, no. And I think Fisher does just treat it as another period piece.
Yeah.
And I think his direction is as good here as it is anywhere else. I think you get some, the night of horror that they go through when they're in the Pentacle. I think some of that sequence is some of the most beautifully directed stuff he ever did for Hammer.
It's fantastic.
It's terrific, really good. So, yeah, whatever the film's faults may be, Terence Fisher is not to blame for them.
No.
I think he's still playing his A game here.
Yeah, I agree with that very much. And actually, I think that I know that I'm not, I thought this film was a bit lame, but that is very much sort of story and screenplay wise, I think
screenplay,
definitely rather than what I'm actually looking at, because as I say, those sequences are really thrilling, and he proved
that he could do an action scene. The man was an action director at heart, wasn't he? We never knew that. It's incredible action sequences,
Yeah, so we've talked about, obviously, the crashing of the kind of Mayday ritual with the Goat of Mendez. We've talked about the car chase, which is fantastically staged, fantastically filmed, really thrilling, as you say, that brilliant stuff about the windscreen and kind of creating this, like, almost ethereal...
yes, it's very dreamlike, isn't it?
Yes, exactly, sort of aspect to it. And also, as I say, upping the peril, because poor old Rex is having to do this, God knows how many miles an hour run down country lanes as well. This is the other thing. Like, anybody who's ever driven down an English country lane fucking knows how
dangerous they are. Yes,
hectic and hairy.
And I love the contrast as well with Tanith, that she seems almost exhilarated by it. She's scared, but there's a sense of exhilaration in her driving so fast.
I think that's right. And also...
almost like there's a freedom to it.
Yes, a freedom. And also, I think, an excitement, because she is sort of under McCarter's thrall. Yeah. This excitement of her, like, getting back to him, And
also, I think the fact that she's so enamoured of McCarter and sort of so in his thrall, that she knows she can't be killed. She knows she's going to be okay because he needs her alive.
Yes, exactly.
So he's going to do whatever he can to protect her, even when she's driving around at 200 miles an hour or whatever in this knackered old jalopy. She's simultaneously scared to death and having the time of her life in these sequences.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Nikkei Arige really sells that so well.
She absolutely does.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, she's great. And then the third of the sort of big set pieces is, as we say, this night of horror, right?
Yes.
Kev, sort of set the scene for us.
They've retired to the Duke's house. Mm-hmm. They've gone down. Is in the basement they're in now, or just on the ground floor? And they've drawn a huge protective circle in the middle of a room. They've moved all the furniture out by the looks of it. And the four of them have got to get through the night unscathed because they know McCarter's coming for them.
That's right.
And so you've got, in fact, it's five of them, isn't it? It's the Duke, it's Rex, it's Simon and the couple.
Yes.
There are actually five of them having to try and stay alive. Well, basically, McCarter tortures them from a distance.
I think Rex isn't in the circle, is he? Because I think he's upstairs.
That's right. That's why there's only four of them. He's looking after...
keeping an eye on Tanith.
Well, say keeping an eye on Tanith.
Yeah.
He still manages to lose her again.
Honestly.
But, come on, Rex.
You've got one job,
mate. Sort your life out. I mean, as I've intimated, Nikkei Arige was not hard on the eye.
No.
You'd think just sitting in a room looking at her, you're like,
where else are you looking?
This is the easiest job I've ever had. This is right. Okay, that sounds a bit creepy, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
It's not difficult to just keep an eye on this gorgeous woman. And
also, even beyond that, Rex, you're completely aware that this very scary, very powerful head of a demonic cult is after you and her, and apparently you're in love with her. Try keeping your eyes open for 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, she should be your priority. It's like, it doesn't bode well for any future relationship, does it?
But yes, you're absolutely right. So we've got Christopher Lee's Duke de Richelieu. We've got
the Eatons. We've got Richard and Marie. So
Sarah Lawson and Paul Eddington and Patrick Mower's Simon. And they are all in the centre of this circle, which, thank you very much, Christopher Lee has explained to us, but at great length, is... Yes. is protective.
To be fair, he kind of had to. How many people in 1960, how many people now know what a protective circle is in occult terms? You know, there had to be some explanation. Come on, cut the guy some slack.
I am. I'm sorry.
You will be.
And it's beautiful, actually. The actual sort of production design, the artistic design of this scene is stunning. Like, I love the circle. It's drawn in chalk, and it's kind of like double layered on the outside sort of circumference, and then it's got I think it's like sort of Latin sort of Bible, like Christian
presumably
phrases,
or it's sort of a spell or something to try to keep them out.
The reason I say I think it's sort of Latin and from the Christian faith is because I slightly recognised phrases of it from things like I don't know, The Exorcist and stuff like that. I'm sure it's I'm going to absolutely butcher this, so please forgive me, everybody. But it says things like Sanctus Dominus and that kind of stuff. So I think that they are very much sort of protecting themselves, like with God against Satan.
It makes sense. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
It does.
And they do sort of. I think the Richelieu does actually say, or somebody says, "Thank God" when it's all over, and he said, "Yes, we should thank him."
Yes, that's right.
So he is a very religious man, despite sort of being quite a sort of rationalist as well.
Yeah, and sort of you very much get the impression with him, I think, that he's been researching the esoteric very much as a man who almost wants to know what he's up against.
That's right.
As a religious man.
Yes, know your enemy.
Yeah, exactly. Very much know your enemy. That's the impression I get.
Yeah.
And then so while they are in the circle and they basically have to survive until dawn, McCarter is basically throwing these trials at them almost, right?
He's actually quite nasty, isn't he? He's quite a sadist, what he's doing. That bit where Peggy apparently comes in through the door.
Honestly.
And it turns out it's not her at all. It's some sort of vision that he's conjured up.
That's right.
Just to tighten the screws a little bit more.
Yeah. Because
just to sort of make them think, oh, God, the child is in danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think her mum and dad have sent her off.
Yeah.
Right? I think they've sent her off out of the house.
That's right.
He's throwing these trials at them, trying to get them out of the circle, essentially.
Yeah.
Out of the protective circle. And I think, a lot of it is sort of trying to get them to sort of run away from stuff. Like, let's get out of the circle, let's get out of the room, because, he keeps throwing things. And then he almost, you're right, it is sadistic because he takes this different tack. So that he sends the giant spider, not giant, and that isn't sort of having its effect. And so he conjures this vision of Peggy. And even though rationally Richard and Marie know that she shouldn't be in the house, it's so realistic, and their parental sort of protectiveness is so strong that they are screaming and struggling to try and get out of the circle to protect her from this giant tarantula. And then luckily, obviously, Duke de Richelieu manages to sort of say, like, hold them inside and say, no, like, it's not her. And then she does sort of fade or puffs into smoke or something, doesn't she?
He throws water over her.
Oh, that's right.
Throws water over her, which breaks the connection, presumably.
That's right.
And, sort of the vision fades.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But isn't that so cruel to manipulate parents by apparently putting their children at risk?
Honestly, the cruelest thing. But also, like, I think it speaks to how desperate he's getting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I
think he's actually getting quite scared at this point, McCarter.
Yeah.
I think he's met his match. Up until now, he's, had his way. He's got his disciples and all the rest of it. And
absolutely.
Now he's overstepped the mark, hasn't he?
This is it, right? So he's absolutely had his way. He's got his quiet little cult. They're having these quite nice little satanic baptisms up at these lovely houses, and they're all standing around sipping wine and chatting about, the...
it's all quite civilised.
It's all very civilised.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden... he's had, this ritual crashed and disrupted. Goat of Mendes has been puffed into a puff of smoke because, they've driven, literally driven, like in a car, and thrown a cross, all of this stuff, is this sudden, very tangible threat. Right, to what he wants to achieve. And so you do, what I really like actually is through that kind of night of horror sequence of him getting increasingly desperate and having to up the stakes with each thing that he throws at them.
Until he ultimately has to take the big step and summon the Angel of Death.
Yes, which is...
which is like going nuclear.
Yes.
As far as he's concerned, which leads to all kinds of complications for him,
Yes, it does, because once you summon the Angel of Death, there has to be a body, right? There has to be a death. That it has to take something. It can't return
without a death.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And so it takes Tanith.
Yes.
But that is the last thing that the McCarter wants, because he needs her as this medium to sort of channel powers that he needs.
Yes, it's a bit vague what he's trying to do. It's a little bit vague, but then I find the whole occult thing incredibly vague a lot of the time.
Oh, it's all very vague.
People are always saying, "Oh, yes, we're going to do this, that, and the other," but why and how?
Don't worry about it. We're just going to do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but what can you do? What can you do?
What can you do? But either way, vague or not, he needs Tanith, and so the fact that she is the person that is taken by the Angel of Death that he has summoned, is extremely inconvenient for him.
To say the least, yes.
To say the least. So let's wrap things up, Kev. We're going to have to start pulling things together.
Yeah.
After that sort of third and final big action sequence, where does the story go and how do we start sort of coming towards the ending?
Well, McCarter needs someone else to... enable whatever it is he's trying to do. So he takes Peggy, the little girl, and the Duc de Richelieu, on the other hand, has managed to relocate Tanith and put her through the body of Marie, and so he's now got Tanith back, and McCarter hasn't. They go rushing off to McCarter's pad, get down to the basement where they're about to do this ritual, which is presumably going to involve the death of Peggy. Again, it's a little bit vague, but it's not going to end well.
We very much assume so.
We very much assume. It's not going to end well. No matter what. It's not going to end well. And they break in, and there's this confrontation between the parents and Simon and de Richelieu and Rex. They have, in fact, Tanith has been found dead in the woods by Rex, which is actually quite a sad moment.
It is really sad. When he carries her body back
her back.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's rough.
Very sad. And he's quite vengeful at this point, but de Richelieu has to hold them all in, rein them all in, because he knows how dangerous this is going to be. And he offers himself to McCarter. Take me.
Yep.
Very like The Exorcist a few years later,
isn't it? Actually. Yes.
Coming to me. The good virtuous guy offering himself to save the child, But there you go. Nothing new under the sun. And then they do some mumbo jumbo at the end, which I couldn't possibly explain. I'm not into the occult enough to understand exactly what's going on. But basically, a spell is cast.
Yes.
And basically the Angel of Death has to take someone, so it takes McCarter.
Yes.
And McCarter is dead. When the good guys wake up from their exhaustions, something very strange has happened. They've gone back in time onto an alternate timeline where Tanith is still alive and everything's hunky-dory. Now, I know, because in your notes that I'm looking at here, there is the sentence, is the time reversal a cop-out? Kind of. It is a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, isn't it?
It's very Deus Ex Machina. Don't you think it's very kind of Dallas or Dynasty, whichever one it was?
Yeah. With him, Bobby in the shower. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. It was all just a dream. Oh, don't worry about it. Like, time seems to have gone backwards and now we're all before all of that stuff. And luckily, MacArthur's dead now, so we don't have to worry about it.
Well, in fairness, I'm going to defend the film. That's sort of from the book, if I recall.
Fine.
There is something similar. It's not exactly the same, but the characters enter the fourth dimension.
Ooh.
Cue Mike putting lots of reverb on that. The fourth dimension.
The fourth dimension.
Yeah, exactly. You can't say fourth dimension without echo all over the place. But they've been through the fourth dimension, which of course is time, is generally regarded as time. They've returned home and they find that Tanith is indeed still alive. So it's actually inherited from the book. I suppose the sort of making it explicitly a time reversal thing, just kind of easier to visualise and to explain on screen.
Yeah.
A lot easier than it would have been in a book, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is kind of inherited from the book, which is not much of an excuse, I know, but it is kind of, it is a kind of Deus Ex Machina. It's like, okay, we need to get everything back to normal. How are we going to do that? We're going to do it like this. And then the film just stops. It's quite an abrupt ending.
It is very abrupt.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, don't worry about it. We've gone back in time and he's dead and everyone else is alive. And so we don't have to worry about it. Big thumbs up, credits. And I think...
But I think in context, it kind of works okay because we've seen so much other mad stuff in this film that I can kind of buy a bit of time reversal as well.
I completely agree with that. I think that just as a device within a film at the end of a film, you sort of think... Yeah. So I think I probably would have disliked the, in air quotes, cop-out less if I'd enjoyed the rest of the film so much, a little bit more.
Okay,
but I think because I get to the end of it, I'm like, well, that wasn't even very good. So what the fuck was the point in any of it then?
Yes, because what indeed the point of it? Because everything's gone back to normal.
Everything's gone back to normal anyway.
And, there are all sorts of questions if you want to really get into it, which of course, twisted minds like mine do. Does time reverse for everybody? Did time reverse for MacArthur? Is MacArthur still alive? Yeah. Did the whole world reverse in time? Or is it just these four people? Have they just been plucked out of their time stream and dropped? I'm talking like a Doctor Who fan.
No, but you are right, though. These are questions that do kind of need asking.
They do linger a little bit at the end. Yeah, it's... I think they were just hoping that by the time they got to the end, people would just be going, wow, that Duke's a Richard, what a clever guy. He travels through time and all the rest of it. Excellent. Right, let's go down the pub.
Right.
That's probably what they were thinking.
This is the thing with so many of these chats, right? Like, basically every ever podcast chat about any movie of all time ever is that, especially back in 1968, they were not writing or directing or editing this film thinking, well, in, X number of years, there's going to be two nerds on mic talking about this, picking it apart, thinking about every last little, So,
Quite right.
I'm absolutely sure that if I went to see this in 1968 at the cinema, I probably would have had a right rollicking good time. But unfortunately, I'm watching it in 2026 and I thought it was a bit naff.
Well, I think as well that these guys were not making these films to last. They were making these films to go out, make some money for them, move on to the next one. Maybe it'd get sold to television, turn up on TV a bit. They had no idea that videotape would come along. They had no idea that disc would come along.
No.
Certainly no idea of streaming. I mean,
podcasts.
This must be... Honestly, to people like Terence Fisher, this would probably seem like voodoo, to be honest. So two people in, different parts of the same city talking to each other over computers. Computers are those things that sort of add 1 and 1 to equal 2 very, very slowly and are the size of a room. So how can this possibly be the case?
And we're all carrying them around in our pockets and talking into them and sending each other voice notes and God knows what.
Exactly. So, none of this could have been foreseen that people would come along and take these films to pass. And the films were not made to withstand that. I sometimes wonder if modern films are made for that and they worry too much about it.
I think they do. And actually, I think that's a really good point, because I think, as I say, if I'd gone to see this, The Devil Rides Out in 1968, I would have probably left the cinema with a couple of questions and thought like, oh, well, that was a fun Thursday night out of the cinema, wasn't it? Never
Let's get on the pub and talk about it.
Exactly.
Whereas now I think there's probably
too much attention paid to, because it and it not by design, that's the wrong word, but it has to be, right? That you have to, because because media and criticism and everything is so geared towards this scrutiny, this sort of revisiting this nostalgia, all of that.
That's
and
right.
Also, you are completely aware that anniversaries, the culture that we're in terms of sort of film watching and film fandom, anniversaries will be
of course
celebrated. We'll be showing stuff up on big screens. Everyone's going to add it to their physical media collection, or it's going to be on screening and people can literally watch it at a touch of a button. And so you have to. Yeah. And I do think that in some examples that is detrimental, and in some examples it's not. But it's
in some it is. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. I wonder if young directors look at people like Terence Fisher and Freddie Francis and people like that and think they kind of had it better.
Slightly envy them, yeah.
They could just make the film and then move on to the next film and not have to worry about, will people still be watching this film in 15 years' time? Because they're probably thinking, well, it'll turn up on telly in about 5 years, by which time I'll have made half a dozen other films. I don't care.
Right.
I've moved on,
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, it's almost like directors now have to think of their legacy. Whereas I don't think people like Terence Fisher thought in those terms.
No, or if they did, certainly not in the same way.
No, they made the very best films they could, and they were bloody great for the most part.
Yes.
And then when they did another one exactly the same way, it was a very different time.
Exactly.
This is probably a discussion for another time, but it's an interesting one, though, I think. It's an interesting how different directors are today than 1968.
It is, and I do think that it's something that is a discussion that came very specifically out of the sort of wibbly wobbly timey.
That's right. At the end
of this film.
and nice Doctor Who reference yourself there. I like that. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. I like it.
Thank you very much.
Very good indeed. I'm impressed. I take back most of what I was thinking about you for this episode and not liking it, but
that's all right. I had that in the bag, Kev. I knew I'd win you over again by the end.
No, I'm easily bought by a Doctor Who quote. It doesn't take much, honestly.
Let's wrap up by talking about some of our favourite moments.
Oh yes.
I haven't got a huge list of them, not because I didn't have I really enjoyed the car chase. I really enjoyed the night of horror. As I say, those three set pieces would absolutely be in my favourite moments, but we've discussed them at such length. I would definitely say that just in general, the Goat of Mendez is one of mine. I thought he was a cute little guy. Yeah. And I know that he's supposed to be super evil and literally the devil and all of that kind of thing. But I saw his little hooves with his little crossed legs and I was like, cute. I like him.
You really worry me. You know that, don't you? You really worry me. I honestly.
I just love a little guy. What am I supposed to do? But I teased this earlier, and the one line from the screenplay that I really want to call out, because, as I said, it made me howl, is delivered by Rosalind Landor as Peggy Eaton, and it's just before the car chase. And so Rex has turned up with Tanith in his car to his family's house, and he sort of gets out and he's chatting to them, and Peggy has been very, very excited that Uncle Rex is coming to visit.
Yes, that's
and
right.
He turns up and he's like, hey, Peggy, sort of scoops her up into a hug or whatever. And then immediately Tanith, as we said earlier, scoots over, driver's seat, nicks the car, and he has to jump into Richard's car.
That's right. Yep. To make chase. Yeah.
Peggy just says, "He didn't stay very long, did he?"
And she's so sad when she says it.
He
didn't stay very long, did he? Of course, she's an innocent. She has no idea what's going on. No idea. All she cares about is that Uncle Rex has been and gone in a hurry.
He would have probably bought her a present on normal visits, and she didn't get her a present.
Yeah.
And, didn't get to play
That's
cards
right.
with him and all that kind of thing. He didn't stay very long, did he? I thought it was great. Beautifully delivered. Made me laugh a lot.
She's lovely. Yeah, she's lovely, isn't she, little Peggy?
What about you, Kev? What are your faves?
I've got a few, including a couple of lines of dialogue. I quite like, right at the very start, even before the credits have started to roll, we see these cabalistic symbols appear, which echo back to the ones found on the walls of the spaceship in Quatermass and the Pit. Little pentacles made with circles.
Yes,
They're on the walls of the ship, which makes us think, shared universe.
Love.
Because, sort of The Devil Rides Out is taking place in this universe where the Martians have influenced our beliefs, and
maybe that's part of where McCarter gets his power in terms of being able to, hypnotise people with his mind and stuff.
Yes. Well, before we go, I'm going to talk about another shared universe thing, which is actually directly involved with this film. I'll come to that in a second. Remind me. I love the search of the observatory, with Rex and Derishlu looking around, and they find a book, and when he takes it out, gives it to Rex, and Rex feels the cover and said, "What's it made of? Cork?" And he doesn't get an answer. There's a chilling lack of answer. It's human skin, I reckon.
Ew!
Oh, isn't that? Now that's a lovely little bit of understatement. Lovely bit of understatement from Matheson.
Great.
I love that.
I didn't really pick up on that, and you're so right.
It's a good one, isn't it? I love the fact that the car chase, it ends in this supernatural fog that descends, which comes out of nowhere and vanishes almost as quick. This is McCarter using the natural world to his own ends.
Yes.
I'm going to give a shout out to James Bernard's incredible score. Absolutely thunderous. I mean,
yes.
So I reckon if you saw this in the cinema, it would be shaking the building. It's one of those kind of scores. Magnificent. Another great line of dialogue. This is my favourite line in the whole film. McCarter has been to see Marie, has failed to hypnotise her, and is about to leave. And she said, "Will you be back?" And he said, "I shall not be back, but something will."
Ooh.
Oh, which is a great bit of foreshadowing of what he's going to do to bring,
quite right,
all these supernatural forces into her home, or somebody's home anyway. Horrible. I mentioned the angel of death bursting in through the door or through another dimension. I love that. And the whole
very cool
sadistic torture of these poor people by McCarter. What an extended set piece that is. Absolutely glorious.
Yeah, it's
so there's a lot. I think there's a lot to enjoy in here. We can add on some of the performances, particularly Charles Gray. Cannot speak highly enough of him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And I do like Christopher Lee in this. I know he explains everything. I know he rabbits on 10 to the dozen, but I like him in this. I do like him. Now, talking of liking him, the shared universe thing I was going to tell you about. There is a writer called Sean Hogan, who's also a filmmaker. And he worked on Borderlands, worked on various really good horror films. Now, he wrote a terrific book called England's Screaming. It's a series of short stories in which characters from British horror films interact with each other.
Oh, my God.
And the first one features the Duc de Richelieu going to a hospital in Rome where a baby boy is born.
What?
It's about the Antichrist.
What?
From The Omen. And all these other characters. You get Rosemary from Rosemary Baby. You get a whole load of really obscure people turn up in this. Really, really terrific fun. It really is. Each chapter is a kind of a short story based on a character from a horror film. The way he weaves them all together into this sort of narrative is so much fun. If you like,
oh my God, I love this.
Well, if you like that, he did a couple of other books. Did Twilight / Screaming and Three Mothers, One Father, which is mainly about Euro horror. So these are all books in which sort of, and if you sign up to his Patreon, roughly once a month, he'll send you a short story in the same vein. Characters from horror films interacting with each other from different films.
This is amazing. Like
so
the ultimate fanfic.
Absolutely. And you should definitely have a copy of England Screaming because it's about The Omen as much as, well, Duke de Richelieu appears in the first chapter. Spoiler alert, it doesn't last very long. But it is largely about Damien and the Antichrist.
Oh, my God.
You need to buy a copy. Go and get a copy. It's so much fun.
I will absolutely.
All of you should be reading it. If you haven't read it already, go and buy it. Honestly, you'll thank me later. It's
oh my God,
so
that
much fun.
So fun.
It's one of those things where you'll be sitting there thinking, I don't know who this person is. I'm not sure which character this is. In which case, let's have a little discussion going on the Facebook group, the Evolution of Horror Facebook group. We can all pitch in and we can all help each other out with identifying characters if we need to.
Oh my God, fun!
Go on, off you go. Go and buy the book. You know you want to.
Oh God, I'm not supposed to be buying any more books, Kev.
Well, sod it, I say that every payday. It's payday tomorrow, and I've looked at my finances and thought, nah, I can't really buy anything anymore. No, so I bought 2 CDs. So, almost immediately after deciding I can't afford to buy anything.
I know. So, I know it well.
It's not even the new pay month. I'm still on the last pay month, running out of money. I can't buy these CDs. But
too much good stuff out there.
Too much good stuff. Too much good stuff. You can never have enough music and films and books in your life. So go on. Go on.
Let's make life worth living.
Indeed.
So let's wrap things up, Kev. How did The Devil Rides Out do for Hammer commercially?
Well, hopefully not as well as I've done for Sean Hogan's bank balance with that little...
Well, quite right. What a beautiful plug.
I have met Sean a couple of times, had a chat with him, but, honestly, this is not a paid advertisement, honestly. Back to The Devil Rides Out. It did well here in the UK, I think probably because of the Wheatley connection. Because, all these kids were getting into the, sort of the age of Aquarius and all the rest of it. All the older people, they recognised Dennis Wheatley. They probably had a few of his books around. He became almost kind of chic to have.
Yeah.
In the early 70s, we were going to get this thing called porno chic, where sort of respectable middle-class couples would go and see porn films. I think what we were seeing in the late 60s was satanic chic, where people were buying, buying these novels and sort of... Christopher Lee actually said, didn't he, to the trade magazine, Kiddie Weekly, at the time the film was being shot, he was saying, oh, yes, the Metropolitan Police are investigating devil covens all over the country. And I'm sure that's complete nonsense. I'm sure it was just a little bit of a hyperbole on his part. But I think a lot of people did think that. There was this obsession with Satanism and, suburban witches. We saw it with The Witches.
Yeah.
That came out of the same sort of public awareness of the esoteric and the occult. So I think he did well here simply because most people will still have heard of Dennis Wheatley. He's probably largely forgotten these days. In America, it was released as The Devil's Bride. Apparently the distributors, 20th Century Fox, rather bizarrely thought that American audiences might mistake the title The Devil Rides Out for a Western. Oh, well, there's no accounting for some people, I guess. And he was on a double bill with this pretty awful Hammer film called Slave Girls. It's kind of a jungle, lost world adventure fantasy thing. Prehistoric women in the States, but slave girls here. But by the time it had opened in the States, and this I think is the relevant thing, it opened in December 1968. And by that time, both Night of the Living Dead and perhaps more pertinently, Rosemary's Baby were on the loose. So The Devil Rides Out might have looked a little less appealing to younger audiences,
A bit twee.
Things suddenly changed in 68. And I think Hammer struggled to keep up with that change.
Yeah.
And I think, The Devil Rides Out might have been the first victim of that in the States. Who wants to see people in the 1920s, British people being all stuffy when we can go and see Mia Farrow looking amazing with that haircut and sort of go and watch zombies eating people's stomachs? That
absolutely. That
just seemed probably to younger audiences in America a much more viable thing. But Hammer, I think, were happy with it because they'd already bought a short story, an adventure story by Wheatley called Uncharted Seas, which they've turned into The Lost Continent, which went into production before The Devil Rides Out came out. They never got round to making The Satanist, but they did go on to shoot To the Devil a Daughter.
Yes,
in
of
1975 for a 1976 release, which I believe will be the last film that we'll look at in this series in about 6 months' time. It won't be quite the end, as there will be a couple of follow-up episodes, I think, but it's the last film we're going to look at in this series. How about that? So, so I think Hammer was sort of pleased enough to carry on the Wheatley connection, if nothing else.
Yeah. And what about for us? Where does this film rank for us, Kev? Elite, upper, middle, or lower for you? I'm
going with upper. I'm going with upper. Ooh. I think the special effects just hold it back from being elite for me. I suspect you're going to be much lower, but for me, I think upper for me.
Not much lower.
Okay.
I'm going middle.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
And I would say that, as often is the case, this chat has made me appreciate some stuff about it more than maybe I did when I was watching it. I think that the action sequences that we've discussed definitely stop it being a complete disaster.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, like firmly middle and definitely edging up until like upper middle. So I did love it, and not as much as certainly a lot of people do, not as much as you do. But although I didn't hate it, I just thought it was just a bit naff.
I'm wondering, note to Mike, if you well, of course he's listening to this, he's editing it. Note to Mike, maybe in a couple of years' time we do Hammer Time Revisited, where we come back to some of the more contentious titles, having seen them again. And do we still think the same way? We don't need to do all the ones, with the ones where we agree on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll come back to The Witches, we'll come back to this one, we'll come back to, anything else that we part company on. Might be interesting to see how time develops. I mean, mainly I'm thinking it because this is the first time you're seeing these films.
Exactly. I do think that has a lot to do with it in so many cases, so it might be the case here.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth investigating maybe in a couple of years' time. Yeah. I just want you to come back and tell me that I was right all along.
Exactly,
really
I knew that was coming, Kevin.
Of course I do.
Thanks for listening to Hammer Time. We'll be back with Christopher Lee again next week as he redons his cloak and fangs in Dracula Has Risen from the Grave from 1968. If you're watching along, you can rent it on Prime, Apple TV and Sky, and it's part of the classic Hammer DVD box set. To check out the full list of movies we'll be covering throughout this podcast, head to evolutionofhorror.com/hammer. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us questions or comments for upcoming mailbag episodes. Drop us an email to hammer@evolutionofhorror.com. You can follow the Evolution of Horror Network on Instagram @EOH_network and on BlueSky @evolutionofhorror. You can follow me on Instagram and BlueSky @BunnyDarke, and on Letterboxd I'm Becky Darke. And Kev, where can people find you and your work online?
Before I tell you that, do please get in touch, but not to tell me that Madeline Smith isn't in next week's film. I've just realised that she's in Taste the Blood of Dracula.
Oh!
I'm getting ahead of myself because I really like Taste the Blood of Dracula.
Well, and also you're just really excited to talk about Madeline Smith, so of course you're getting ahead of yourself.
Madeline Smith. Yes, anyway, yes, where can people find me? Thinking about Madeline Smith, probably. You can find me as EOFFTV, the Encyclopedia of Fantastic Film and Television. I'm on BlueSky under that handle, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and Letterboxd. On Facebook, you can find me as Kevin Lyons with a picture of James Stewart from Rear Window as my little thing. And my website is eofftv.com, and if you search for EOFFTV Review, you can find all sorts of ramblings from me. But this time, they're actually written down, so you don't have to sit and listen to me for an hour and a bit.
Don't forget to rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. Thank you for listening. Join us again next week for another episode of Hammer Time.